I came to St. Stephen's College in 2010. Actually, I came to Delhi, not to St. Stephen's College. I wanted to do theatre in Delhi because in Hyderabad, where I was, theatre wasn't very active. And Delhi, I got a couple of my plays came for international festivals here in Bharat Mahotsav. One play for the Norwegian Embassy's festival and all that, Ibsen festival. So I thought I could actually do theatre in Delhi. So that's how I came to Delhi. And I happened to attend the interview and I got through in 2010. Reverend Malson Tabu was the principal then. Dr. Ashish Roy was the head of the department. Uh, so I came in like that, and I came in with the idea that I'll teach and then I'll do theatre the rest of the time. And actually, in Delhi, my theatre work, I mean, you can't get into Delhi theatre that easily from outside. So, but then there was this great opportunity of mm, being the staff advisor of of the Shakespeare Society of St. Stephen's College. I hadn't done any Shakespeare till then, but then I got involved because there was this tradition of doing one annual production, one Shakespeare production. So that was the thing. So I sort of started with that, and then I got involved with the students. So and it was great because you had rehearsal space, you didn't need to pay your actors, you got funding, sponsorship, and you had a venue, you had lights, and the principal then was very very supportive. So it sort of came together, and production hadn't happened for 2 years before that. So nobody in college in the third year also nobody knew what this annual production would be like. So then a team of students who were also just new, and I was also new, we worked together under the guidance of Dr. Ashish Roy and put together Othello. Next year it was Macbeth. And the one place I really liked in college are the college lawns because of rehearsals and because of classrooms that happened there. And lawns have been so beautifully built into this campus, and then it gives you a certain cozy kind of feeling. It gives you a kind of intimacy. It gives you a certain sort of freedom. It allows you to do things. And then yeah, we would do that a lot. And then all the time we were in the lawns, in the mess lawns, in the chapel lawns. I remember after Macbeth's production, which really, I mean, Mikhail Sender directed it. It won a lot of good name. And the principal, when he came to congratulate me, he said, "You've ruined the chapel lawns, all the grass." So I said, "But sir, we were rehearsing." He said, "Yeah, that's why I'm telling you after the play, not during the play." Actually, the classroom experience hasn't changed very much, right? But the experience of teaching is very different. I'll give you a small example. I met a student at an airport who I taught in the second year. She was a history student. Then I knew her name. I told her, "Hello, so and so." And she said, "You still remember my name?" I said, "That's called the annual method. You stay with a person with a text for a whole year. So that was really you bombed into a course, you work with it, you did a lot of work, and finally you ended. So there's a pace to it. Now the pace is different. So you are you're rushing, you can't finish things on time because it's just too much, right? And one big thing is those days you the more was the merrier. You did more, you felt nice, and everyone felt nice. We had classes that went on till 7:30 and all of that, and then people really liked it. But the problem was that now, if you do that, people just get very tired out. So the problem of the trauma of plenty is what's now plaguing us because there's just so much. I mean, there's the internet, ChatGPT, there's all that. So you have to know what not to look at now rather than what to do. Earlier, you do a lot of things and you spend a lot of time, so you knew them very much better. And it was a slower process. It was a more mindful process. Now it's like instead of 4 courses, there are 7 courses. So that's different. But classroom is not different, not very different, because the students were excited, and a lot of them, people don't turn around and ask, "This is not in the university syllabus. Why are we doing this?" And a lot of times we are doing a lot of that. But that experience, in fact, one of the ways in which things still make sense is the truth and the sincerity of the classroom space. Otherwise, this would have collapsed. Is my sense. So classrooms are nice. Yeah. One figure who really loomed large in my mind after joining St. Stephen's College is C.F. Andrews. I mean, C.F. Andrews came to St. Stephen's College in 1903 because his friend Basil Westcott died of cholera. He was teaching in Pembroke. And he came here and he sort of, in months, he started staying with rickshaw pullers. And then he started supporting the international movement. He went to South Africa to get Gandhi here. When he was offered the principalship, he said it's an Indian college. It should be the principal should be Indian, and made Principal Rudra the principal. Got an amazing constitution for the college, which made sure that academicians have a lot of say in the whole scheme of things. Then he came from a medieval uh, British college, Pembroke College, Cambridge, came to a colonial college, worked with anti-colonial movements. And also it's interesting because he was the one who brought in Gandhi. Gandhi himself in the Gandhi movie also asked him to leave because it's a movement for Indians, by Indians, of Indians, and a white person doesn't have space there. So the Britishers won't trust him. They would think he's a seditious figure. Indians would think he's a spy, right? I mean, and I couldn't understand how he dealt with this problem. I read through a lot of materials, but I couldn't find it. It was a very spiritual kind of thing. Then he went and was part of establishing Shantiniketan. In Shantiniketan, if you go to the library, the biggest portrait is not of Tagore, not of Gandhi. It's actually of C.F. Andrews. There's a place called Andrews Palli in Shantiniketan. So there's this transition is amazing. And then the way he worked with indented laborers in Fiji, he worked with tea gardeners in garden workers in Assam. It's an amazing journey. So what can an English teacher who was interested in theatre, who used to sketch? There are his papers in Pembroke College where he draws people playing cricket for his cousin, this small girl. Beautiful kind of person, right? Like, so I really liked his presence, and also something like, Rudra dinner, which is basically Andrews's birthday, when Principal Rudra started this tradition that teaching staff and students would serve food to the non-teaching staff. But it's now it might just look like like an event, like a spectacle, but it's a very important thing in the 1920s because a lot of workers would be lower caste. All of students and teachers would be upper caste, regardless of the religion. So there, it's actually an anti-caste kind of a position. This whole idea of purity and pollution, all of that gets challenged in that small little thing. Right? There are interesting things amazing things that happened in this college. So I think college has a tradition of challenging power, challenging British Empire first, and then challenging Indira Gandhi, then challenging the powers now. One of the things I really loved about this college and learned most about it has been the female students. It started in 2013 with a movement called House Arrest Against the Curfew here. Then this team, Pijra Tod and all the other groups, they were getting together, and the conscience keepers of St. Stephen's College in the last 15 years have been clearly female students, feminist students, female students. Gender studies cell had a role in it, and people who were in different groups. I've always seen this during the JNU movement in 2016, Rohit Vemula movement the same year, then DU movement in 2017 and 2020 anti-CAA protests. And it was all led by women. Women were the ones who were doing all of that. So it's an amazing thing in college, and that's one humbling experience of a bunch of students. I mean, I don't think a female-led movement. We've seen it in the 1970s in America and parts of Europe, but in India, it's a very interesting thing. In a college which was uh, you know, a boys' college and a boys' club for a long time. This sort of emergence is something I've really appreciated and felt amazing about the female movement. And I think it's in some sense an important moment in the history of student movements in India. My PhD work is on student protests, so I've really thought of it in a big way. I mean, they were there when Delhi riots happened. They were doing relief work, and all throughout COVID, there were students who were getting up at 3 o'clock and distributing things and all of that. There's a whole team of people, in college. It has that tradition of C.F. Andrews kind of sensitivity. It's a very interesting thing. And, or for example, Haftar Hashmi, a series of people who there's a whole bunch of bureaucrats and politicians who work with the power, but there's also a counter movement from colleges, which is an amazing streak to claim. And one of the things St. Stephen's College does, I mean, has had a certain tradition. It's a very powerful institution because of the alumni, because of students, because of teachers, because of its position in Delhi, because of its birth as British Empire's kind of product, various things. But it's also, there are small little wonderful things that I've noticed. One was there's this philosophy society meetings. So it used to, I have not met him, I've only heard of him. There was somebody called Gupta Sahab who was the head of philosophy department. So he would have a reading of some philosophical text every Friday in his house or something, like 10 people. It's not mandatory for anyone. Some people, and there would be some small little thing. Then apparently it started in a room. When he was retiring, he told his junior colleague, Dr. K.P. Shankaran, and he was also a sort of mentor for me. Dr. Shankaran, he said, when I retire, this will all end. What will happen? So Dr. Shankaran said, don't worry, as long as I am here, I will make sure that the Philosophy Society meetings happen on Friday afternoons. He made that commitment for 13 years. Dr. Shankaran did that. And the year Dr. Shankaran retired, the 3 or 4 months before that, Gupta Sahab passed away. So every day, and he would say if something important is happening and Friday afternoon meeting can't happen, then Dr. Shankaran used to say, the Gupta Sahib is on my head, I can't do this and all that. He would make it into a very dramatic kind of person. So there is a certain, and 10 people would get together. So I think a college tradition is not big thing, it's not grand thing, it's not very celebrity kind of thing, it's also small little thing. You do this, there are 10 people sitting and reading some Plato, some Kant, some Derrida, whatever, right? And I used to go regularly for that, and then they would sit and talk about something, and that coming together is important. It doesn't have to be grand thing, it doesn't have to be like an annual production, it doesn't have to be a harmony, it can be small little things. And that's a very interesting thing I learned about the life of institutions and the depth of institutions.